Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Hopefully, you've all had a triumphant Tuesday. I know most of the cryptocurrency market hasn't, but we're going to be diving into Cardano in this video. We're going to start the video off by really getting into the news, some of the news headlines that currently surround Cardano, talking about how Grayscale has a 32.3% allocation of Cardano in their Ethereum Layer 1 competitor product that they offer. Shows a huge vote of confidence for Cardano. I think this was, or I certainly first saw this on Twitter from Dan over at Crypto Capital Ventures. Credit where it's due for spotting this. I actually hadn't been paying attention really to Grayscale's allocation, but it certainly kind of highlights the confidence that the likes of a financial giant like Grayscale have in the likes of Cardano, which is good, certainly in times of weakness. We're really going to, after we've got through the news, and there's a little bit of it to cover, update on how many products are actually building. You know, it's anything but a dead blockchain and a ghost chain, despite some of the criticism that's still levied against it. We're going to be talking about the fact that we got the Vasil hard fork, and are we going to see a run up to that hard fork? Now, there is potential for that to take place. The key difference, every time we've had a hard fork prior, certainly since March 2020 onwards, the Alonso hard fork led us up to our all-time highs, and then we saw a decline and have kind of been in one since then. But every hard fork that we've had since March 2020, we've seen a rally into, certainly into launch, and then typically it sells off after launch. Are we going to see the same thing for Vasil? It's possible, and given the strength Cardano is currently showing, seems likely, providing that Bitcoin behaves. So providing that Bitcoin doesn't completely puke, which there's every possibility of, Cardano actually might do quite well into the Vasil run-up or into the Vasil hard fork launch, and then it may sell off again. Ultimately, my overall thesis on the markets, for those of you that watch me daily, is that these markets are going to see lower prices generally. And the reason being is because we understand the macro situation, and it just does not accommodate the cryptocurrency market. And the cryptocurrency market has revealed to us that that is the case thus far. Until the macro environment changes, or we see some sort of data in the price to suggest that things are going the other way, there's no reason for us to change our stance that this is still a downtrend. So we will talk about that and talk about the scenario where Bitcoin behaves, because we have actually called for Bitcoin going slightly lower before we look to take that downside. So let's start off, guys. Let's take a look at where the cryptocurrency market is at. Cardano is currently kind of being a little bit of a leading light, actually, along with, I was going to say along with USD there, but of course USD is a stable coin. Good that it's up there for anybody that holds it. And, you know, it's really kind of going against the grain. It's actually shown quite a lot of strength. Now, there is the argument that, okay, well, it's already sold off significantly. You know, how many sellers are left? But ultimately, the reason it could be going against the grain probably has quite a bit to do with the Vasil hard fork, the fact that we see wells accumulate, and the string of good news that we've seen recently. Cardano does not get the best rap in the media for many reasons. A lot of those reasons are because people have vested interest in other layer one protocols. And one of the main reasons that I think people don't like Cardano is due to Charles. Certainly when you look at other communities, and of course, I'm sure everybody understands that, you know, Charles actually worked. He was one of the 5 people, along with Gavin Wood from POLKADOT, who worked on Ethereum. You know, they were the initial founders, essentially. So he's got a very interesting background. But the news isn't typically too accommodating. But, you know, here, this is from Cointelegraph. Is Cardano ready for a go at $1? Jude's hard fork. FOMO lifts ADA price to weekly high. Potentially, but we're going to talk about, you know, if Bitcoin pukes, market's going with it, including ADA. It can't swim against the tide. It's shown us that it can't swim against the tide. Now, if you look at Cardano against other tokens, it's showing strength. So that's what you want to see. You also want to get news like this, like Grayscale's allocation and how they're, you know, confident with Cardano, essentially, to really confirm. In times of stress, you want to see what can deal with it. And Cardano can. And we actually showed you a snapshot, a historical snapshot from back in the peak of the bull run in 2017. It was actually in 2018 for altcoins. Cardano was still a top 5 crypto. It was in the top 5. It's top 6 today. You know, it's not going anywhere. And the likes of Grayscale know that. So do many other people out there. You also had a little bit of news from London Real. I think this was posted from Charles. London Real, I don't know how big it is in America, but it's certainly big, or was at one point, big over in the UK. And essentially, you know, there's this kind of nice poll meme that I think was created by ADOL, or I believe it was. And essentially, you know, every poll that there is where people are asking for their what cryptocurrency they like or their favorite, Cardano seems to win by an absolute country mile. Huge reflection of the community that we have behind us. One of the reasons I'm so bullish on ADA is because of you guys, the community. I've watched this project grow. We weren't the earliest into it, but you know, we were certainly in it in the 2018, 2019 bear market, and we've watched it grow since then, and it's done exceptionally well. We also have the amount of projects building on top of Cardano update. Always good to see from input output. You know, we've got 1,003 projects. So what you are seeing now, and I have seen a spree of projects actually jumping ship from other layer ones into Cardano, because people are really liking what they're getting in terms of a developer. Yes, we know that the coding is different, and it's not a language that is, Haskell is not a language that is widely used in the sort of coding community it's known about, but it's you know, Solidity is far more applicable to many of the developers. But we are seeing a lot of people actually go over and look at Cardano as a investment, a suitable building platform. And this is something I think is going to persist. You know, there's lots of good signs that we've seen during this downturn. We've seen it continue to remain in the top 10. We've seen it pass its competitors like Luna. Solana was above it, a number of others out there, and actually creeping up towards BNB. It's still a huge gap there. You know, BNB's got nearly double our market cap and then some, but it's actually shown a lot of strength, and that is a really good sign. And it kind of confirms my bias that, you know, I'm not looking at something else here to everybody else in regards to the fact that lots of people don't like Cardano. We stick with it because we think it's a blockchain that's built right. But that's enough for the news, guys. We'll kind of leave that one there in regards to the news. Let's talk about this pump that may be coming. The Alonzo hard fork essentially led us into $3. You had the prior hard fork, and then you had a hard fork down here. And every time we've had a hard fork, which is essentially an upgrade of the network through forking it, essentially we've seen a rally. Do we get that into Vasil, which is coming this month? Potentially, providing that Bitcoin behaves. We don't want Ethereum. So if Bitcoin decides to puke here, and there is the possibility that it might. However, I do somewhat expect, weirdly, that Bitcoin may actually go on and continue a little bit higher before we get that slam down. We got the FOMC on Friday, which we're going to be going over in the Patreon. By the way, guys, we launched our Patreon for anybody who's interested in that. We did do a video before this one actually explaining what's going on there. But the FOMC on Friday, which is where the CPI print is going to come out, it's going to move the markets one way or another, but we'll see what we get, and then that might play into the thesis. If Bitcoin behaves here, this is what we need to see for Bitcoin. We need to essentially see this repeat. I've already got it drawn on here. And you can see, what we'll do is actually go and get a fresh chart. We'll use Kraken, why not? Not an exchange that I actually use, but I hope. So this was a bear flag. This is likely setting up to be a bear flag. So if we can get in a similar manner to what we got here, you know, it's very similar to date, by the way, guys, and to really highlight that, we'll do it to there just to show you the structure. You know, this is probably kind of a bit of what's going on. You're going to probably do some sort of bear flag like this, but more of a compressed, smaller version. Maybe come and put a marginal high in here. Move that down a little bit. Come back into this zone. We've been looking at 32, 33K before it then slams down. That's a possibility, and that would be a good bear flag setup. If it does that and we see that steady grind up, that may provide the cover that Cardano needs to get a breakout. But what people aren't talking about in regards to the pump is what typically comes after. After Cardano has a hard fork sort of run up, after the launch, typically it sells up. I mean, that's been true every other occasion. So you've got to be careful of that. You know, ultimately, again, to reiterate, our overall thesis is that crypto comes lower. And Cardano is a part of that, even if it does see a Vasil hard fork pump. And of course, it's always nice to see Cardano pump and perform. But to me, in terms of being a confident investor in Cardano, I've seen everything that I need to during this downtrend to be even more confident in it than I previously was. And we spoke about quite a bit of that at the start of the video in regards to how well it's done against its competitors. The ecosystem continues to grow, the interest continues to grow, the wallets continue to grow, you know, no major flaws or hiccups during stress. Big funds like Grayscale, a financial giant, actually, you know, in terms of a Ethereum layer one competitor, actually holding it up on a very high pedestal. It's got all the criteria, I think, to make a great investment. And that's why we're still here sticking with it, despite all the criticism we get, because ultimately there's been many occasions throughout history when many people have been wrong and only a few have been right. And I feel like that's the sort of case with Cardano. It gets a lot of hate on the kind of mainstream side of things, but when you really hold the criticism levied against it to the fire, it doesn't hold weight. All I've got for you in this video, guys, that is it. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesdays, and I'll catch you all in the next YouTube video. Thanks for watching.